I have a feeling that Fox News really doesn't want a female president.
Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump.
The significance of that.
Just wanted to give some reaction to Kamala Harris's appearance on Fox with Bret Baier, the interviewer, who we thought maybe was going to be a little less partisan because in the past he has shown some journalistic tendencies, but it seems on this occasion he was very much in the tank for Donald Trump, and clearly Fox is continuing its allegiance with the disgraced former president. Kamala Harris did remarkably well, considering that the entire interview was stacked against her. It was like a gotcha moment where Bret Baier tried, where possible, to hit her with leading questions that were loaded in a very Fox-friendly fashion. And by that, he was basically lying about statistics, lying about the border, lying about the economy, and using the same narrative that Fox viewers are used to hearing over the last decade. And then this is the problem, because there are two Americas. There is reality, and then there is the kind of MAGA Republican, far-right Christian nationalist version of what's happening, where abortion is, must be outlawed, and where immigrants are all criminals. And it simply isn't true. And so maybe we should start with immigration, where he very much tried to catch her and say, you've been in for nearly 4 years, and why haven't you done anything? And it was very important for me, as somebody who has trained politicians to do interviews and do debates and, to work on their kind of, media training. It was very important for me to see Kamala Harris hitting all the right notes. And eventually she did, but it did take a while for her to get there. And I would just caveat that with saying that these situations are extremely difficult for regular people to manage. All of your good intentions and all of your thinking and all of your planning can go to shit if you are faced with an opponent. In this case, it wasn't an interview, it was very much an attack. An opponent who does not give you the space to think. And Kamala Harris speaks slowly and thoughtfully. And unfortunately, that style is incompatible with Fox. Fox is very fast, and if there's a gap, they try and fill it. And you've heard Sean Hannity do that. Will not let people talk. If they choose to pause, not for dramatic effect, but because really the best types of conversations and interviews are done in a relaxed and connective manner, where you are thoughtful and where you just slow everything down and you actually talk specifics. Fox doesn't operate like that. It's all anger, 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 rage, 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 scream, scream, scream. And so Bret Baier wasn't really on the same frequency as Kamala Harris. And that's why he kept interrupting, because she was leaving these spaces for him to do so. I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm just saying that I would have liked her to have known that the pacing of Fox is such that if you give an inch, they'll take a mile. And so I found those moments kind of difficult. But eventually, Kamala Harris did get so fired up and so angry, not just at the injustice of the interview, but the injustice of the analysis. I mean, Bret Baier's references were all easily debunked. And that's a big issue, because we're talking about two different worlds colliding. Talking about Kamala Harris living in reality. She knows about the border crossings, the numbers. She knows about the issue down there is mainly the judiciary, that we need more judges to actually look at these cases, to get these asylum cases through the courts. Nobody really talks about that in any detail as to why there is a delay, a backlog, why there are so many people waiting for their cases to be heard. And I would have liked her to have been more specific about that. But what she did do, which I was very pleased about, was that she made the point that she is not Donald Trump. And that really is an area that I've been focusing on a lot, that a vote for Kamala Harris is to prevent Donald Trump's rise and the rise of fascism.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. We have an
It's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? That to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people.
Whatever you think about Kamala Harris, she is a very experienced, very intelligent, and very capable candidate. And she has proved herself as a vice president. And remember, the VP job is not the president. Very difficult. You know, it's not it's not a job description that you are allowed to shine in. It's very much a backroom job. You're there to support the president. You're there to give counsel. And you're there to take on any tasks that are asked of you, as well as the task of being able to step up if anything happens to the president. And so all this criticism, what has she done in the last 4 years? She has been a stable, supportive vice president. And the fact that there have been no scandals is the reason that she is of high quality. And you can't say the same of Donald Trump, or indeed him giving Mike Pence the job of leading the coronavirus task force. See where that got us.
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing.
What she did do is make that point. I'm not Donald Trump. But in order for that to hit home, she needs to make it clear why Donald Trump is so dangerous and is a threat. And to say that he is unfit and that he is unstable is very good. But you also have to say why. It's very important to really bring receipts in these situations. So if the job of this interview was to reach some Fox viewers and to bring them over to the Democratic ticket, then I think she might have succeeded with some, because she presented as somebody who is balanced and thoughtful and kind. And that's what America needs right now. And the point that she's making about, what has gone before and wanting to not go back, I think that resonates with a Democratic audience. But Fox people, they don't realize, because they don't know, because they have no point of reference, that we're living in a divided, overly weaponized, politicized environment. They actually thrive off of the hate, and they thrive off of the negativity. And to them, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I would have liked her to have recognized that a lot of the people watching, it's their life force. This attack of Democrats and owning the libs is the life force of a lot of MAGA Republicans. But remember, not every Fox viewer is a MAGA Republican. Not every Fox viewer is a Trump supporter. Not every Fox viewer is in the cult of Trump. And those are the people that I think she may have successfully brought across.
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
Sadly, it is a personality contest these days. And people don't go to the website and they don't look at pages and pages of policy, as she suggested in the interview. They just don't do that. They just look at the individual and they go, do I trust you? Would I want to have a conversation with you? And do I believe that you are of enough character to lead the United States? Undoubtedly, the answer with Kamala Harris is yes. And undoubtedly, the answer with Donald Trump is no. But explaining why he's dangerous, I think, would have been of greater value. Just so that those people who watch Fox, who are brainwashed into the cult of Trump, are hearing these things for the first time. Remember, the type of coverage that you might hear from me and others about the threat to democracy, the rise of fascism, and the destabilization of the world because of Donald Trump, they don't hear any of that. Trump has never heard any of that. Nobody has ever held him to account. And so, to them, us saying stuff like that is so alien. So you have to introduce these stories and these explanations in a way that is palatable for a brainwashed audience. And it's no easy task.
He's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast. On Wednesdays, co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday, on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.